So that's PCBs. The next one I want to talk about is CFCs, Chlorofluorocarbons. These are aerosols. So you girls that had your hairspray taken away from you with the aerosol because of a CFC. They are also coolants, Freon. That's why Freon costs so much, because they are a controlled substance. Chlorofluorocarbons. We could go into the biology and I could tell you how it breaks off oxygen and creates ozone, and that's, you guys ever heard of the no-zone days? Where you don't fill your car and do all that? Because this bonding temperature is like 95 degrees. You get that hot, it breaks off that oxygen, forms with O2 in the air, creates O3, which is ozone. That's why they don't want that done. And it's not the good ozone, by the way, it's the bad ozone. All right? So chlorofluorocarbons were used in aerosols and paints and other situations like that. Only EPA-certified technicians can do any work on refrigerating systems because this is a banned Freon became a banned substance. They created what, R121 or R112? And then they found that one was bad, so they created R121. Pretty soon they're going to find out that water causes damage. Either that or they're going to find out that cancer is hereditary in white rats. That would be cool. So all these tests that we've done over the last 100 years, nope. Got to redo them. Mold. Mold is gold. Mold is a susceptibility issue. There is not, nor will there ever be, a mold standard. All right? Like I told you that you can measure lead in a person and determine their degree of exposure. You cannot do this with mold. It works on the spore systems like allergies. Let me give you an example. One of the most common types of mold is called penicillium. It creates penicillin. Anybody in here allergic to penicillin? You are? You can't be given penicillin in a hospital. Could kill you. Literally, the rest of us can eat it. All right? That's the problem. My first ex-wife is so bad. She can literally stand at a doorway and go, I can smell the mold. She is so sensitive and so allergic to stuff. On the other hand, I have none. My oldest child, or no, the third or fourth oldest. Fourth oldest, Connor. His allergies are so bad. All right? So he can't do grass and pollen and all that other stuff. Mold is like that. However, the problem with mold is it is a systemic problem to what issue? What's the real problem? Water. Water's the real problem with mold. You've got to find out where that water source is. The problem with water is it takes path of least resistance, which means it could be leaking somewhere else, running down a pipe, getting this drywall wet, and the mold shows up in the kitchen and leaks somewhere else. So that's a big problem. Now, do you remember my 72 lawn ornaments story? And I told you it was my second favorite. Here's my first favorite. I have to give you the story, I have to give you a little education. There is a mold that most of you have probably frightened to death of called black mold, which is called technically Stachybotrys, is the black mold. Stachybotrys must live on cellulose to be viable. Drywall, wood, paper. It will not grow on bread, oranges, things like that. Those are all different kinds of mold. You need to know that to understand the story. American Lead Lab, I became the director of. The owner of the Lead Lab's name was Michael Sims. If you ever meet Mr. Sims, ask him this question. Mike was the world's best salesman, better than anybody I knew. He could sell literally anything. He just had that personality, that ability. He was really good, spoke well. And he called me up one day. Now remember, this is like 1999. He's like, hey, do you know how to sample mold? Because I can sell this service to my clients. I'm like, yes, I know how to sample mold. He's like, can you educate me? So we went through some education. We talked about cladosporium. We talked about aspergillus. We talked about penicillium and stachybotrys. Now, stachybotrys, the thing you need to know is, it is the greasy black mold, not the furry mold. I would virtually guarantee you guys have never seen stachybotrys. You might think you have, because we see a lot of that black furry kind of mold. You guys know what pudding skin is? Where you make pudding and you put it in the refrigerator, and then later that night you can, that's what black mold is. You can literally draw your name in it. It's not the furry mold, okay? And the bad mold has to grow on drywall, wood, paper, stuff like that. So we get our very first gig in Richmond, Indiana, at a home that housed 4 gentlemen who had Down syndrome. And in the basement were 2 nurses that lived there part-time to make sure that they were okay. They were pretty much lived by themselves, but they were there for like cooking and things like that. So Richmond, the city of Richmond, calls us and goes, hey, we got mold in this house. We want you guys to come and remove it. We said, okay. So we drive to Richmond, we go in there, we meet the nurse, we go down the stairs into the basement where the nurse's office was. In the back wall, the back wall was one of those cinder block walls. All right? In the middle of the cinder block wall was this mold pattern. Now, out of the gate, what do you know about this mold? It's not the black mold. Can't be, because it's growing on the grout in between the cement cinder blocks, not on cellulose. All right? Mike Sims. I swear on a stack of comic books that tall. The nurse goes, there's the mold. Mike Sims leans forward and goes, lick, and licks it off the wall. And that nurse, like those comics where they run around, their arms flailing, literally was running circles around us. Oh my God, he's going to die. And Mike goes, I think that's cladosporium. And she's like, is he okay? I'm like, don't worry, he went to school for this. He's trained. Now, mind you, it's our very first time we've ever done this. He's trained to do that. This is something he did. So as he's standing there, she's freaking out. I take the tape sample, put it on the plastic bag, thank her and say, hey, we'll let you know, because you have to grow mold. You can't sample it. You got to take it to a biological lab, then count it and do all kinds of stuff. So Mike's standing there, and I get samples. She's like, are you sure? Yeah, oh, he's fine. Yeah, he went to school. He knows how to do all that. We get in the car, and the first thing Mike looks at me and goes, hey, man. I said, let's go to a gas station. This tastes like shit. I'm like, well, you dumbass. You're the one that did it. But he was trying to prove to this woman that that mold was not going to kill any of those kids there. All right? Now, after he said that, I told him, I said, do you realize they could be allergic to that? Oh, never thought about that. He was just trying to prove it wasn't that black mold. Ironically, it came back as cladosporium. And but it was funny. She's like, oh, running in circles, and he's freaking out. His name is Michael Sims, if you ever see him. All right? So we cleaned it, and we tried to explain to them they had a water issue. And, of course, the city of Richmond never wanted to spring the $8,000 or $10,000 to fix the wall, or the water was running back in. It was graded improperly outside, and the water was running back in. Didn't want to, so we cleaned it at like $1,500 a pop, like 4 times, about every 3rd or 4th week. Yeah, mold is gold, all right? So mold is a susceptibility issue. It works on spores, and there never will be a standard because everybody is affected differently. Any questions on those substances? Like I said, probably your biggest retort's going to be PCBs. Yeah, we talked about them. We better call it an environmental company. I've done my job. Lead is probably the one you'll deal the most with. Asbestos, second, only a few different cases. but most of the others are all going to be, hey, not my gig, call somebody. So there we go. We got one slide down.